So did you have a lot of cousins?
Well, my aunt, they had lived by the time we moved here, my aunt had been here for a while. She had 8 children, and so they were like my mother's age. So I had children I had cousins that were my age. Yeah, the one family, they had 6 children, one had 7, one had 8. I had a lot of cousins.
Where are all those cousins now? Did you ever stay in touch with them, or have they all scattered?
We didn't. And maybe when I go back to Bay City, I will get someone to help me. Lisa Marqua is really good. She's out in Seattle, but she's really good at that kind of thing. Maybe I can contact her and she can.
She's good, Gina.
And I want to get in contact with all those people again.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what's the nationality of your mother and the nationality of your father?
They had their relatives were from Germany, but they also they were from other places. For many years I thought, oh well, we're German. Both relatives are German. They all came from Germany, and then I realized the information came that we weren't totally 100% German. We were probably 50% German. The other 50% was a bunch of other, Irish. There was Irish that was in there that was very predominant. My grandfather was one parent was German, one was Irish. So we really had quite a, significant amount of that. But I right offhand, I can't think of where the other ones were from.
Well, Sabrassi was your maiden name.
Siebrasse, yes.
And that's German?
Not really. Cordine investigated that when she was in high school.
Yeah.
And it's not really German. But we figured that, my dad always said, I'm not, what did he always say? We're not, oh goodness, it was a nationality that was in that area, but I think they were, that's what they weren't only part of their relatives were German, the other part were, what was that word?
Was it Prussian?
No, how could I forget what that nationality was? So I think we weren't totally German, we had something else in us.
And do you know when your family came over to America?
I don't know when they came to America.
I think I have some of that genealogy stuff. I'll pull that out. I know I have some of that.
And their name, my grandmother's family name was Brand, B-R-A-N-D.
Okay, Brand. That's definitely German.
And then Albright was my grandfather.
Oh, yes.
A-L-B-R-A-C-H-T.
Well, that is probably an Americanization of Albrecht. A-L-B-R-E-C-H-T.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
and I've heard that.
Yeah, I have some of your genealogy up on my computer. I'll pull that out. So, how old were you when you started school?
I was 5 in September 2nd, and I started in September. I was 5.
You were 5. And you started with kindergarten or with first grade?
Kindergarten.
What do you remember from kindergarten?
Oh goodness! I remember we played a game where it was the 3 Billy Goats Gruff, and there was somebody was under the table, and we marched across the table. And that just I couldn't think. We wouldn't have ever done that at home. You didn't walk on the furniture.
Walk on the furniture, and that's what stays with you because it was fun and it was shocking.
Yes.
That's we have a gypsy.
Did you like school?
Oh, I adored school. It was a way. We lived in a neighborhood where there were no children. It was all old people except for my sister and I. But then, when we were I was about 12, the neighbors, they were brother and sister, they lived in that house, and they both died. So a young family bought there, and they had children our age.
Yeah.
The older ones were our age, and then younger ones. So then we had children our age in the neighborhood.
I hope this is not insulting, but was it a one-room schoolhouse? Was it a one-room schoolhouse? Or did you have grades?
Oh no, I went right into Bay City, and it was all grades.
Grades, okay.
We had, it was first grade, there was 2 of everything. There were 2 kindergartens, 2 first grades.
Okay.
It's because it drew from a large area.
It's very modern. That's how mine was too.
Yes.
Yeah. So you liked school. What was your favorite subject?
I like geography, but I think that was because my family was from Nebraska, and we talked about other places. You know, when you went to my aunt's, they didn't talk about what was happening today. They talked about all of what they used to do years ago.
What,
Like what
in the Midwest?
the
or
dances they did out in Nebraska, or the harvesting that they went and helped with, or you know, it was all those kind of things that we talked
Can you
about.
do a dance?
Pardon me?
Can you do one of those dances?
No.
What kind of farmers were they?
Pardon me?
What kind of farmers?
They were just general farmers. They grain and I would say they raised grain and corn and wheat, and they didn't raise garden crops. They had a garden, a small garden. They had a probably 50 by 100 garden that they had garden crops in that, you know, carrots and lettuce and
But they didn't
potatoes.
raise animals. They didn't have cows or sheep or pigs or anything. Just really
They
farmed the
no,
land.
It was just the land. It was not
Farmed the
animals.
land.
Hmm.
Wow. That's interesting. And do you remember being on the farm?
No,
No.
My folks, when my folks got married, they came. I wasn't. See, I was born in Nebraska, but I was already a year old. So they had probably worked. My father probably had worked on a farm or something. I don't remember. But then they came to Michigan,
Yeah.
and here, my uncle got them jobs at Defoe Shipbuilding.
But did you ever go back and visit your grandparents? Do you remember anything
I don't
about the farm?
remember. My grandparents. Oh yeah, my mother's parents. I remember. Now my dad, his mother. I was 5 years old and she died.
Yeah, that would have been too long because
He was a middle child, and his sister. Oh, she was the matriarch of the whole family. Aunt Annie. Oh, she was the most gentle, loving, wonderful person, and she was like the grandmother that we didn't have because Grandma had died.
And there were so many, so she was probably like one of the oldest sisters.
She was the oldest of my dad's sisters.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, what else about your grade school years do you remember? How old were you when you learned how to read?
Pardon me? Oh, I learned how to read in first grade. Maybe we started in kindergarten, I think, but first grade I could read. Mm-hmm. Well, and then when I learned how to read, my sister was at home 2 years younger. She wanted to do so. I taught her how to read. So when she went to school, she comes home crying, and so finally the third day, my mother, you know, you didn't have a phone. You didn't have phones then. So my mother walked to school with us, and my mother said, "I'm sorry, but Cordine comes home crying every day, and so I've got to come to school and find out what's the matter." Well, when they talked to her, she wasn't doing anything different. She already knew how to read because I had taught her.
So she was bored.
She was bored. Yes. So yeah, you know, it was just too funny. We didn't realize that. But what did you have? We didn't have a lot of toys. You didn't have television.
Right.
So we played school.
We used to love playing school.
Oh yes, you had desks
I
and
love
chairs
playing
and
school.
yeah. My cousin would come. She was older than I was, a little older. She was 2 years older than I was. She was an only child. Her dad and my dad both worked at Consumers. My dad worked in the garage. He was a mechanic, and my uncle worked in the shop where they had all these had a whole board of they were mechanisms that needed calibrating, and he calibrated all those. He kept the town from blowing up.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he had a real responsible job.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he was a Sabrasi also.
He was a Sabrasi. He worked swing shift. So on Sunday, my dad would say to my mother, "Well, should we go down to Harry's and visit today?" "No, he's working today, so we won't go today." So, but she always kept that straight, which shift he was on and when he was working, and sometimes we would go during the week and so forth. And my cousin would come and stay overnight with us.
Oh, that would have been fun.
Yeah, we had sleepovers. Mm-hmm.
What did you do at a sleepover? What kind of
Well,
things?
we played school.
That's funny.
Yes, yes.